welcome everybody to another episode of Spirit Talks. Today I am joined by some amazing women, Jen Paget, Veronica Rawlinson. Jennifer, how do I pronounce your surname?
You pronounce it Glamazina.
Glamazina, beautiful.
Glamazina.
And Joe Thompson. So welcome, gorgeous women. I'm so glad to have you here. Our topic today is how can we move from struggle to thriving in an ever-changing world? And this is a really important topic. I feel that so many people, and what I've witnessed is that so many people out there are struggling. And these gorgeous women that are on this panel today have all gone through their own struggles, have gone through their own experiences, have helped women, have helped their clients, have helped their families through so many different processes and through their journeys. And so they are here to share their own stories with you today, and also to give you some tools and tips of how you can move from struggle to thriving. So welcome, Jen. Jen Paget, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from and why this topic is so important to you.
Jen Paget. I'm an herbalist, Reiki practitioner. I also am a priestess with Her Holy Temple lineage. I'm also a mama of many, and as you can see, I live in a yurt, and I live in Northern California in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I was just compelled to throw my hat in the ring to talk about this because it's a topic I think we all struggle like as we're moving through life, and there are so many things I wish I would have known earlier, younger in life that I'm hoping to share with all of you today.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's that old, oh, if I only I had known, if I only had the tools or the guidance, or if someone had just told me, or if I had just taken a moment to listen to my inner self, right? Anyway, so thank you so much for sharing that, Jen. Okay, Veronica, you next. Please share with us where you're from and why this topic is so important to you, my love.
Oh wow! Hi, I'm Veronica. Or Ronnie. A lot of people call me Ronnie. I'm from the south coast of New South Wales, in Australia, and of course I connected with Natalie through a recent book that we co-authored. And I guess my life has always undergone huge changes very quickly, and as many know, I was diagnosed with an illness about halfway through my life. And that has like compelled me to embrace change and be open to trying anything and everything that's a bit different. So I thought this topic, especially now as people are many are struggling with huge change. Some people don't like change. So I thought it would be a good topic to come on board with the other speakers and just chat about.
Beautiful. So rightly said. People don't like change. We fear change. And that's actually where the most growth lies. And we'll dive into that more deeply. Jennifer, please share with us where you're from and why is this topic so important to you?
Hello, my name is Jen Glamazina. I live in the Bay of Islands in New Zealand. My husband and I just relocated here about 5 months ago. We wanted to find community, a slower pace in life, learn how to grow our own food, and most importantly, be surrounded by nature. After always living in big cities. So I've come from an 18-year media career. I was on air all that time, but I also taught broadcasting, mentored new graduates, and also returning broadcasters for many years, especially teaching them how to bring their own life experience to help them communicate better with the public and create connection, which is so important as a broadcaster. So I'm still working as a mentor from home now and helping people understand that they can make mistakes and not regret them, but learn from them. And that has come from very similar to Ronnie, where I have had a life of many changes, and they have also been very quick ones, and lots of childhood trauma and grief. And I love to share the wisdom that all of those things have happened to me with others in order to help people maybe see the reasons why these things happen, as opposed to just dwelling on them and using them as actually positive tools in their life for growth.
So beautiful. Yeah. You can either choose to let it define you in a way where it completely, breaks you, okay, or you can let it empower you, right? So thank you, Janet. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Joe, please feel free to go ahead and share why this topic is so important to you and where are you, my love?
Hi, my name's Jo Thompson. I'm based in Newcastle, in Australia. And this topic is quite important because I believe many of us experience struggle, no matter how minor or major it is. So my background is Pacific Islander, and growing up, that was a huge struggle in itself, living in a predominantly white community. And so just finding ways to move through and sort of also teaching the younger generation how to experience change and to also not fear it either, because as we all know, life throws many things at us and we have to sort of like think on our toes and move through it, not quickly but more efficiently, so that we're not holding on to trauma and passing it on to our kids and having them fear different things that's thrown at them as well. So yeah.
I love that word, moving through it more efficiently.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And what does that mean, gorgeous woman, if I put the question to you? What does it mean to move through your struggles more efficiently? What have you found in your lives, the experiences that you had, and what did you do, the tools that you applied or the things that you did that helped you move through struggle more efficiently? Any of you can jump in, whatever's landing for you.
Okay, well, I'll touch on that as well. For me, it's more or less taking the lessons in and then sort of implementing it in your daily life. So not taking it on as like life is happening to me, it's happening for you. There is a lesson in there for you to grow through. And a lot of people don't like pain. I have a quite high pain tolerance, so I tend to, take it on the chin. But I find that my way of dealing with adversity may not necessarily work when I'm going through experiences where it's flowing and it just seems natural. So sometimes you're required to act efficiently, but in a real peaceful way. I'm not sure if you guys can relate, but there are times when the masculine energy takes over, and that's when I'm like really fiery. But then there's times I got to remember, I'm like, okay, I do have a divine feminine side, and I can move through this with ease and grace, and I don't need to be putting my armor on and getting my sword out and getting ready to fight the battles like every day. Yeah.
I love that.
I kind of guess for me, the first thing I had to learn when something really tough came up was to accept it. And then from that place of acceptance, then I'd start a game plan of, okay, this has happened, or this is what I'm experiencing. How do I move forward from here? And then I'd start to do my research and, like, which way are we going here? Natural therapies, doctors, but always it ended up, and that took a long time to come back to my gut, trust yourself. So.
That good old intuition, hey? The ego voice is so loud, it's almost prodding you, go, go do this, and it just feels so off. And then the softer voice is what we need to listen to. Anyone else want to speak into this?
Yeah, I can speak into this. I think I sort of, never wanted to sit in that victim mentality in my life, for all the things that happened. And, I guess I was lucky that my mum taught me from a young age about that. But, I think people sort of sit there and say, when something bad happens, what am I supposed to be learning from this? This is a terrible thing that's happening, But I guess, I sort of think about my own story and think, I guess like the gifts that gave me is that I'm a survivor, I'm resilient. I learned how to fend for myself. I became independent. I realized I could create any life I wanted to, and that this doesn't define me. And I made a decision at a really young age. I didn't want to become a statistic or anything like that, because I was in control of my life. And so that was such a gift of strength that I got given at such a young age. through traumatic experiences that happened to me, that has made me sort of apply that to every aspect of change throughout my life. And it's really helped because I've moved with the change and embraced the change and seen it as an adventure. And I would love other people to realize that these things happen and they always have gifts, always.
Oh, I've got goosebumps. That is so beautiful. And it's when you can see the gift, okay? Because a lot of people can't see the gift when they're in that really deep trauma state, in that struggle, and they're being pulled down. You can't really see the golden nuggets. And this is why what Veronica said, acceptance is key where you're at in that moment. If you go, okay, I'm here now, I can choose to sink or swim. What am I going to do? Am I going to continue this pattern, or perhaps it is a pattern? Am I going to continue feeling like crap where I'm not able to move forward, or am I going to let myself surrender into the space where I am now and deal with it and take one step at a time? And I guess a lot of people feel that they don't have an out, and through each of our stories, because I've also got my own stories of struggle, there's always this space of where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know that there is something there that you can reach for. How do you get there? How do you move into that space of feeling more flow, feeling more love for yourself, feeling like you're not stuck? Would anyone like to share a little bit about that?
I think, well, I just resonate first off with what everyone said, and a lot of it is about, standing in your own power and listening to your own instincts. The, my life just not doing that, and not. I mean, I've been a very strong woman and been able to make some very clear decisions and been on that masculine realm. Um, But I think one of the things I really wasn't paying attention to was my rhythmic cycles, and how sometimes I need, sometimes I am really in that masculine energy and I can go, go, go. And sometimes I need to have those moments of really resting, and realizing resting is productivity was such a big thing for me. Because I would just give myself like this perpetual guilt trip about, oh, I need to have some downtime. And um, I think that was one of the major breakthroughs for me. And I'm still learning it, because before the work that I'm doing now, I was in the corporate world. I was working in technology, and then when you're raising kids, it's a very regimented thing. Like, you drop them off at a certain time and pick them up at a certain time, and our bodies don't necessarily want to do that. So I think a lot of confusion exists in the world when we go on a healing path, because we're still trying to remain in that regimented world and not giving ourselves the breaks and the time that we need to really, spend the time working on and contemplating some of these things. Um, it's almost like you don't even have time for it. So until you're able to open up the space for it and realize how you work. And this week I'm feeling really productive, so I'm saying yes to a lot of things. But last week I was just down in the dumps and not, and I just had to realize, I was like, you know what? I'm just at the end of like being okay with this. I've been incorporating that into my life over the last few years, but I finally was like, this is how I'm actually most productive. It's giving myself the time and grace, and also I think in those moments really loving yourself and treating yourself like you would your own child.
Yeah, so beautiful. Anyone else want to share?
I agree with Jen Paget. It's that giving yourself permission when you're a mum. My daughter's been out of home now for a few years. She's 23 this year, and I had her when I was 19. And so I never got the chance to really be an adult or experience the life out in the world as an adult, really, without being a parent as well. And so it's been an interesting sort of journey being an empty nester at still quite a young age myself, and having to sort of move through the motions of, okay, I think it probably is time to face some of this stuff that I've been, putting aside because I had to get out of bed each day and function and be a parent, and then became a successful career woman as well. and everything focused around those things, and all of that stuff that I've been not facing and not dealing with came to the surface when she moved out, and suddenly there was no focus. And I remember standing in her bedroom crying when she moved out and just going, well, what is my purpose now? You know, oh no, now the spotlight's on me. Now I've got to face this stuff. I've got no excuse. And all this free time. Yeah, it's really weird when you suddenly have all this time. And you're so right, Jen. It's just like giving that grace and permission to just sit with that. And you are more productive when you are calm and you are centered and you are being there for you and just you. And it's really hard to do, especially for women.
Because we're always so used to go, 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 like, you say it's very regimented. It's like, drop off kids, make school lunches, do the washing, all of that stuff. And we find ourselves in this fight and flight mode. And same with men, going to work all the time. It's the same pattern over and over again. And it's almost like we go through a process of grief when we break that pattern, lifelong pattern, like, that empty nester feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with all my time now? And who am I? And it's almost this feeling of coming back to that space of home. Who am I really now that I am not needing to be a mother? You're always a mother and you're always a father, but you know what I mean? So that you can come back to that space of creation for you. And then you really spotlight those things that you haven't dealt with, like you said, Jen, where you're not dealing or where you haven't dealt with your own struggles, your own pain, your own things, perhaps that you've been filing away for such a long time. Yeah, thank you. Jo, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I love what you said, Jen Padgett, about, like time and contemplation and, like all mothers and fathers who are raising families, that, it is time consuming, juggling everything and, business, life, kids and extra, activities. But I find that if you just, make the time, like get up an hour earlier, maybe go for a walk, or I love reading. So I always make time to pick up a book and read at least 10 pages before I go to bed. And yeah, just putting in those extra time, like in the little pockets of time in your day, because you can always find, like if you find yourself scrolling social media, then you've got time. And so many people doing that, right? Like we're so accustomed to picking up our phone and checking our emails and who called me, and what's happening on Facebook land and whatnot. So I understand, that the time is of the essence, but I feel like time is also and it's abstract. It's such a, modern day concept. It's like we can play with time, and I love that I'm not restricted to having to be at work at 9 a.m. I can get up 8, 9 a.m., whatever my 4-year-old schedule is, when he decides to get up and I'm like, okay, he's going daycare at 10 a.m. And I find myself rushing back, getting here on time. But, that's what I love, is that we get to play with our time, have fun with it, and just make joy in everyday mundane activities. Like I now own a dishwasher, thank God, because I used to like don't understand, like rinse then put on the bench, but it's like now I'm like, okay, I'll just rinse myself and just straight into the dishwasher, like just little things like that just makes my life that much easier. So
I love that.
And struggle, is struggle really, do we really have to hold on to it? Is it really ours to keep and to hold on to, or do we want to experience the joy of life and the fun, like you said, Jo? And do we want to move into this space of harmony and congruence and peace and receive whatever this life is gifting us and giving us? And that all the possibilities that's available to each and every single one of us through living this life here on this planet. Yes, there are really bloody hard things that happen to people and difficult things that happen to people. But ultimately, what's the moments of growth that we can take from this, and how can we move from that space of that experience into empowerment, into loving ourselves more, into helping other people in this world and our planet, moving into a space where we're actually working in harmony with our planet as well. So there, there's this deep thread which stems from that struggle. And how do we move forward from that? Veronica, do you want to speak into this, my love?
Well, I was just mesmerized by your words. I'm going, wow, that's really deep. So, gosh, moving forward from, as I said before, I think the first thing is acknowledging that this is happening to you, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad. Usually it's the bad things that make us sit up and take notice. And then from that, it's like my mum always said to me when I was growing up, there's always someone worse off than you. So I've always had that in my mindset that, things can be better and things can be worse. So this is just another day in your life. It's what you choose to make of that day. And if, if you have a physical illness and all you can do today is sit on the lounge and turn your ankles, you can't even get up and walk. Well, that's a bonus. You've actually, my thing every morning is, well, you're still breathing, get up and every morning I'm grateful. I just go, I'm grateful for this day. And I think it does come back to your mindset, doesn't it? You can get caught in that woe is me. And look, when I first got sick years and years ago, I was that, I was that, poor me, what did I do to, bring this into my life? But then I learned, I think the first esoteric book, if you like, that I read was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life.
Same.
And of course she's about, affirmations and positive thinking. And she was a great example of, if you're going to stay stuck and wallowing in that place, well, nothing's going to change. In fact, it'd probably get worse. And from my experience, that spiral either goes down and it continues to deteriorate, if you like, your experience and your attitude, or you start to turn it around slowly. And it's usually something really little or simple. It's like giving thanks, being grateful every day is just like that's a secret. Just be grateful.
That is a big secret, isn't it? Go. Who would like to speak into that?
It's funny you say that. You mentioned Louise Hay's book because it's right in front of me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's like there's so many books. Like personal development is one of my things as well. Like, there's a saying like, if you're not growing, then you're stagnant, and when you're stagnant, you stink. And so we don't want to be stinky people, right? So, yeah. And I find myself, like, especially with my husband, like, there's just a few things where I'm like, can you like not say that, please? Because like they may not see it themselves, but if you're their mirror, you can always show and highlight areas where they can work on. Not everyone's perfect, but everyone has room for growth. So I love reading. So I'm glad you brought that up, actually, Veronica.
Yeah, I love that book too.
It is a beautiful book. Thank you, Jo. I want to speak into this as well in terms of people's different levels of change and how we are all on our own journey, and that the worst thing we can do is judge other people or judge ourselves for where we on our own journey. Okay. How we move forward in terms of sitting within that space of deep awareness, deep connection with ourselves is our journey, and another person's is another person's journey. And I always believe that we find the right people, or the synchronicities come into our lives where we are gifted or being given the tools and the experiences to help us come out of that struggle. We can either, it can hit us right in the face and we might not see it. And then it'll hit us right in the face 3 or 4 times as we are having people come across our space, and also books and podcasts and all sorts of things, right? How do we digest that information is up to us. How we work with that information is up to us. And often what I find, especially people that have come to me that have been in deep have gone through deep sexual trauma, that have gone through deep spiritual trauma, and all of those people, all they need is someone to lift them up and see the light, to empower them, to say, there is hope. There is something here for you to work with. You are magnificent. You are amazing. People that have been through drug abuse, that's been through alcohol abuse, you know, those people are in really deep, dark spaces. And it's about lifting them up and going, okay, here's a book. Here's a podcast, you know, here's a meditation, here's something that will help lift you up so that you come into creating more space for you. Jen Paget, I can see you want to speak about this. Do you want to share?
I think, yeah, we get caught in loops, you know, all the time, and people in addiction, and I've done it myself, and I have, you know, I thought, you know, came from like this corporate setting of being a badass woman and like slaying the dragons, and I went through the kind of like this poor me stage towards the end of it, just like not I when I look back on it and realize and asking myself the questions, it was all about acknowledgement. But I couldn't get to that point until I continued to seek out the answers. And you're right, things do get put into your path, and sometimes we aren't ready for them. But I just encourage anyone who's out there struggling to continue to seek, to try to break whatever loop that you're in, because those loops are important to break, because we can stay in them forever. You know, we're probably all still in some of them. They don't always completely go away, but some of the things can be moved way to the background once you have the right tools to work on them.
Yeah. And what does struggle stop us from doing and being? Like, what does it stop us? Like, for instance, if we think about one that was quite apparent throughout the work that I've done is I'm a fraud, especially for those people that are stepping into their work, you know, around, I don't have a certificate for this. Surely I can't share the work that I came here to do. I don't have qualifications, right? So how do we people move or help people move from the struggle? And how does struggle actually stop people from doing what they came here to do on this planet? Think about your own experiences, and maybe you want to share some of your experiences and how it stopped you from stepping into your work.
Well, in my case, you know, I'm a healer and teach angelic Reiki and have done for a very long time. And before that, I learned Yusui Reiki to the master level, but that was more for myself. But I got to a point where I was kind of judged by a couple of people that were in my classes on how can you be a healer if you're not healed?
Right.
And it stopped me from working for probably 3 or 4 years. And in that time, I went within and did more work on myself, really. And of course, then I connected with more people that had disabilities that are, you know, empowered people like that, you know, like all the disabled athletes and, you know, people like Stephen Hawking and, you know, Helen Keller, who was, you know, blind and deaf. And so I started to look for inspiration in those people. And, you know, then I also had to get to the point where what other people think of me is none of my business. So, yeah, but it was a tough little big lesson, I suppose. I'm probably still like struggle with it a little bit, but gosh, I'm too old now to worry about it. It's like, if not now, when, you know, like, so, and I know I'm a good teacher, so it's like, just continue to do the work that you're here to do, really.
Yeah, amazing, Veronica. Well done. Yeah, why give a toss what anyone else thinks? If it's because you are being true to yourself, you being authentic and your real raw self, right? And from that space of knowing yourself, and this is where the inner work comes into, really doing the work to really find out who you are, the truth of who you are, and allowing yourself to unapologetically stand there in front of the world saying, this is who I am, love it or leave it. And yes, there are people that will resonate with you, and there are people that will get you, but there are people that won't. And this is what I'm talking about, the levels of change that people go through in their consciousness and where they find themselves at. We're not here to convince people. We're not here to fix people, right? We are here to take responsibility of our own journey first and then radiate out whatever it is, the truth that we have within us, radiate that out to the rest of the world. And they can either take it or leave it. They can, come along for the ride, or they can choose a different mentor or a teacher or a guide, and that's okay. This judgment of each other and judgment of self is what keeps humanity in separation. And this is what we as leaders and guides and way showers are here to show people. It's okay that you are in the journey, in the moment that you are. The now is where you can change everything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And change is not scary. It's freaking liberating. So why run the other way every time? Because we're too afraid to feel. We're too afraid to feel our pain, to experience it. But man, when you let go of that pain, you're like, why haven't I done it way before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you really regret a decision once you finally made it, and it's a good one, and you're sitting in that space and you go, wow, it's so, you almost feel annoyed with yourself that you weren't brave enough. But yeah, to speak into the initial question about, how do you move through struggle? It is bravery. It's being brave. And I guess when, before I stepped into the public eye, and I was in the public eye for 18 years, I was scared of what people would think of me and if they would like me, because that's a big part of the role, is to be liked. And then I decided, well, actually, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I have a passion for speaking, and I've got some things to say. And so if you don't want to listen, that's fine. You can just change the station. That's all good. But it went really well. And because I stood in that bravery space and decided that it doesn't matter what people think of me. And I love what you said, Ronnie. That's one of my favorite sayings. What other people think of you is none of your business. And if more people operate on that level, can you imagine how much more people would be their authentic self?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
Yeah. Well, I had a teacher tell me you just need to be one step ahead, and give your hand back to them and bring them along. And I just found that's very beautiful, because I have teachers who are teaching me, and I'm evolving. And so I'm going to know more things. And I feel like the people who are really attracted, to working with me, it is at the level of knowledge that I have right now. And it is having a confidence in that. And I think when you're on the healing path, we are questioning ourselves, because we have to have a certain level of integrity, right? And so sometimes that does make us question ourselves whether we're ready for something or not. If you're standing in your true self and your true integrity, then you're right where you're supposed to be. So the decisions that you're making are the right ones, because if you're thinking about anything at all, you've already done all the questions that anybody else could ever ask of you. So yeah, stand in your power and your truth, and be brave, like Jen said.
Love that, Jen.
I'll add to, I resonate with what everyone shared, especially you, Veronica, when you said about people judging you for not healing yourself and now healing others. And I find that a lot of my struggle previously was listening to everyone bring out their opinions of what I should be doing and where I should be going, what life I should be living, but they present a life that I don't want to live. So it's like, I don't want to take your advice. And it's like, and a lot of people come from that fear and they project their fear onto you. And so a lot of people aren't connected to who they are and the life that they should be living. So, their fear is in, obviously, they make it your fear. And I find that I have a lot of people pleasers in my life. And so now that I've gone through this growth stage of I don't really care what people think of what I'm doing or where I'm going. They're not paying my bills. They're not sending my kids to uni. They're not putting food on my table. So that what they say is not relevant to me. But when I am experiencing someone who, if in conversation or just being in their presence, and there's like red flags that okay, well, this person's a people pleaser, and then you try and have a conversation, and then you can gauge from there, like, they're not ready to hear the message. So there's times where I find, okay, well, where can this go? So I find that I've had to stop many of those relationships, and it's hard because then you go through that grief of like, I'm going to miss this person, but our relationship isn't growing. It's not going to where I want to be. I don't want to be stuck in the gossiping and the, like, look at what this person's doing, or look at what they're doing or what they're not doing. So, and it is hard. Like that's like the little struggles that you find in your day to day. But then when you release it and you're like, that's okay, I'm bringing in more people that are called to me, that resonate with me. You find your community, your tribe, and that's where you'll thrive, because then you can have all these amazing, crazy, galactic federation like council conversations. And you're not going to be looked at like, what the heck is she talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And thank you for saying that, Joe, because you know what? Finding your brave doesn't mean it has to be a big bang. Finding your brave are just literally the small steps that you take every single day, getting up, lifting your head off that pillow in the morning and going, right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to put my knickers on and my socks on and I'm going to take this world on today, right? It doesn't have to be a big bang. And this is where people, I think they fall off the wagon a little bit because they think, well, life is too hard. If you can get in the shower in the morning and you can wash yourself, or you can just go outside and feel the sun on your face, you've found your brave, girls and boys, because, life is hard, and but it is also beautiful. Within that crazy chaos, that state of crazy chaos, there is so much beauty to be found, so much beauty to be had. So tell me about how you found your brave, my loves. Share a bit about your stories. I'd love to hear. How did you find your brave? What some of the things that you did?
I'm just sighing. I'll think about that if anybody else wants to speak first.
I think for me, it was finding the courage to just step out, and just having faith that wherever like universe, God takes me, whatever path that is, that I'm intuitively guided. And so like when there's times where I'm like, I doubt myself, that's when I tune in and go, I don't know if anyone does the pros and cons list. I just jot things down, like, because sometimes like our logical mind is like gets in the way. But once you know how to tap into intuition, like, you always know that you're going to be guided down the path that you're meant to go. And I feel like every time I've made that decision, there's like a little team behind me going, like, go Joe, and like I feel that like that warmth, the tingling, the that, oh, okay, you're like, this is exciting. And the uncertainty comes where you're like, oh shit, like, what did I sign up to? But then the growth that comes with all that, and the doors that open, and the opportunities, and the people you meet, like, that far outweighs any little little naysayers or whatever, like hurdles that you need to go through in order to get there. It's so worthwhile. Yeah.
I love that pros and cons list. I also love the polarity, where you write down where you find yourself. So what are you telling yourself? Like, oh, I'm not good enough. Surely I can't do this. Whatever it is, the story that you're telling yourself. And what the pivotal moment of change is here. And this is what's scary for people. They think that change needs to be also that big bang, and that you need to have all the answers and all of that. It doesn't work like that. Life doesn't give you all the answers. There's no roadmap, right? We are making our own roadmap. So when you're writing down what you feel in the moment now, and where you find yourself and the stories you tell yourself, then you can choose, what do you want instead? How do you want to move through life now, from this moment? How can you work towards it? And this is that incremental kind of finding your brave towards working towards what it is that you want. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I mean, my brave found me, because I lost both of my parents as a teenager within 3 months of each other. So it wasn't a car accident. People always say it was a car accident. It wasn't. Two illnesses, and so my guides, I guess, were taken from me at a very pivotal age. So I was forced to be brave and stand on my own 2 feet and make decisions, whether they were good or bad. There was plenty of bad ones. But one thing that I have done from a very young age, since then, is goal lists. So I love your pros and cons, and I've done that too, Joe. But goal lists and ridiculous goals, like really ridiculous. But it's amazing how many of them I've managed to achieve. When you look back, I'll do it every year. Write them down. One of them is to win a Best Original Screenplay Oscar, and who's to know that won't happen, because I do want to, and I have started writing the story many times down. But one of them is to voice an animated character. I did that. One was to be on international television. I did that. But at the time that I wrote the list, and every year I'd transfer anything over that I still wanted to be a goal and keep going. And and thought, oh yeah, no, I still want to do that, and so we'll keep that on the list again. And it's so satisfying going back and looking at that and just seeing what your vision was for yourself and what you did achieve, but also revisiting it on a yearly basis and going, actually, no, maybe my heart's not there now. And you can cross that off. For whether it was achieved or not, it doesn't matter, but it sort of keeps you accountable to your path, and also the idea that we are okay to change and change our minds as well. You can change your mind. You don't have to stay in the same ruts all the time. You don't have to stay in the same place. You can take chances. We've done that very recently, moving to a place we hardly know anyone and completely changing our life. But, it did take bravery, but also I know that there'll be many wonderful things to come from it. I just know it will be. And because anytime you are bold like that, the lessons learned just from that experience alone are incredible. So
Being bold and courageous. I love pushing out the envelope and pushing outside the box. I definitely do not live inside the box at all. I throw the box out with the trash. So, it's important to push yourself outside your comfort zone, because that is when all of those possibilities, everything that's available in life, come to you, and abundance starts flowing to you in many, many different ways and forms. It's beautiful. Anyone else want to share?
I remember when I was going through a marriage breakup, actually, and I ran into a friend, and he had been going through the same thing, but he looked great, and he was really, lit up, and he was really, I said, what's going on for you? And he goes, oh, had this little sit down with this with the head of the monks up in the Southern Highlands, and he said, I'll share with you what she said to me. And she said, it is what it is. There is no wrong, there is no right, there just is. And I went, oh my goodness, it was like one of those, Oprah Winfrey aha moments. And I went, that is so true, so that was kind of like it was one statement, as you said before, it's not the big things, and that has stayed with me for all this time. It's like whenever something's going on, I go, okay, it is what it is, and I know a lot of people use that now as a a thing or a mantra, but if you use the whole lot of it, it is what it is. There is no wrong, there is no right, there just is. And so that's always inspired me, I suppose. And like Joe, I'm a big reader, and self-development book, I'm passionate about, and words motivate me, so I kind of guess that we're in this big time of change, and I know I've seen a lot of people struggle with actually going back out into society, because we've had this time of lockdown, and a lot of people actually liked it, and the working from home thing, and so we've done a lot of change. Maybe we haven't actually even recognized it as change, because it was kind of forced upon us, but in some ways it's been a good thing. But now they're going, right, you can get out now and you can go and get back on with your life. And a lot of people are saying, oh, I don't think so. And my friends and I have done it ourselves. We'd say, let's catch up for coffee. And then at the last minute, we'd all go, oh no, I've got something on, or, whatever excuse. So I kind of got us all to take little steps, and that's what we're doing. We'll go, okay, let's all meet at your house, so it's just a little step, but eventually they'll all, and we actually went out, about an hour's drive from here, and a few of us went out to the bush and took a picnic, and it was really peaceful, and there's a big waterfall, and it was just something we wouldn't do. So it was change, which was great, and it made us brave, you know, to step back out into the world. So I think there's a lot of people that are still very much caught in that. They're a little bit scared.
Mm. Yeah, because there was so much change so quickly on a global level, and people lost their jobs, they lost their livelihood, their people lost their lives and loved ones, and you know, that's a lot to deal with. And then obviously the realization of all the truths and the untruths that are coming out as well. There's a lot of change within that. And then the change within yourself as you're navigating all of these external changes. That's huge. And people shouldn't just push it down and file it away to deal with later. This is the time now to choose how you pivot, how you move and flow with the change, and how you allow yourself to ride this wave instead of sinking down to the bottom and waiting until someone comes and saves you. It's not going to be like that anymore. We each have to take responsibility for our own lives now. And if you see someone, and you know, being part of a community of people where you can reach out and tap people on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm not coping today, I just need a little bit of loving, or you know, just give me a hug, or perhaps, you know, here's a meal to support you when people don't feel like cooking, or where they can't even get out of bed, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm talking about really basic needs now. Then there is, at a greater level, there's also how can we expand into really championing the change as leaders, as visionaries, as change makers in this world, to help people come up to the space of higher consciousness and allow them to then run with the change. So we have new technologies, new inspirations, new inventions, you know, that we can bring into birthing, into being, all of the things that is coming out, the good that's coming out of this change.
That's all right.
Jean Padgett, do you want to add to this? Sorry.
I think in my experience of what's happened with all this slowdown that we've had, and when I try to start to go back into like go mode, there's barriers. It's like Goddess is coming down and saying, no, don't do that. I think one of the things that I rode the wave with this change of us being able to slow down was really being able to take care of my central nervous system. And what I realized when I did that is I was getting messages, and I was like from the divine, and I was getting attached to or introduced to the people in my life that I needed to be with to continue growing. And when I was in the corporate and the masculine and the go world, my nervous system was like so completely bound up. It was like nothing could get in. So it took like that time to be able to like slowly release, you know, and to slowly start receiving messages. And then sometimes I'd get like maybe a big bang of a message or something like that. But like change, it doesn't have to be a big bang. If we've learned anything from this pandemic, we thought, oh, it's going to be over in a couple months, or it's going to be over in 6 months. And it was like, no, we had to continue to wait and have some kind of patience with how getting everything back to normal. And I don't think there's going to be a back to normal. And if we're going to evolve, you know, as a human species, I think we do have to figure out what are the most important things in our life and start, you know, getting rid of those noisy things that, and it's not always possible when you're stuck in the world, but like what can we get rid of that's unnecessary? Because I think everybody was at a go pace. And so now
Mm.
we have the opportunity to really like sink in, with ourselves, and to really listen to the messages that are coming in from the universe and from our teachers, and absorb those, and bring others in to the circle too, and really
Mm.
have some deep work. So, and I'm hoping, like, if people are afraid of change, um, I don't know. I can only see good coming out of that. We There's an evolution happening out there where we're gathering. The masses are gathering in these circles, um, and it feels really good because I didn't have access to these circles or the teachings before. Like, I was able to slow down over the last 4, 5, 6 years, and I I was grateful in some ways for that slowdown because I was able to learn so much. There was so many downloads over the last few years.
Mm. Yeah, and it is about calming the nervous system, calming the mind, calming the spirit, connecting with your higher self, connecting with your humanness. As much as you connecting with your divinity, you also have to connect with your human.
Exactly.
Your human, that's where all the messages lie, right? The body messenger. And I feel that the reason why people are going through what they're going through is because the nervous system has been in attack mode or on attack all their life. It's like that fight and flight motion that we've been on, that hamster wheel. So now when we had lockdown, we went into stillness and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. And a lot of the stuff started coming up. A lot of the truths started rising and the untruths started rising. And so a lot of people are finding themselves not knowing what to do with this. And for people that are listening out there, I want to say that it's okay to reach out. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to tell someone, heck, I'm not good today. I feel like crap. Can you just hold me, speak to me? Can you just bake me a cake? Whatever it is that you need that day, if you want to demolish a cake, that's
Or
fine.
take your bra off.
Or take your
Yeah.
bra off. Thank you. Yeah, I saw your post yesterday, Joe. Let it hang free. Whichever
Yeah.
way you want to let hang free, go for it. But I feel that we have to embrace the simplicity of what that is giving us, that space, that lockdown space, and bring more of that into our life. If we find ourselves in our home surrounded by a lot of stuff, declutter, It is amazing how that works on your nervous system when you've cleared out space in your home. When you clear out space in your energy system, daily practices are so important, making space for new downloads and energy to come in from the divine, and allowing yourself to move your body, listen to music, do your meditation, go and run on the beach if you want to, go for walks, connect with people that fuel your soul, that make you joyful. And then when you need those moments of stillness, processing, like Jen Padgett talked about the cycles and the rhythms, we all have them. Do not try and push them down, because we have to get into that space of living with the rhythms of the earth, with the seasons, with nature. It's our natural state of being. We can't fight it. So if we start or stop being on the hamster wheel and we start working with the flow and the rhythms of life, we then begin to come back to that space of congruency, of harmony, and then we can more easily deal with our struggles. We can more easily face whatever, is thrown our way.
So true.
I
Yeah.
have to say, I'll add to that, because I feel like the thread there was about the nervous system. If anything, COVID has taught me is to teach my children, as well as myself, how to regulate my own nervous system. And kids don't understand that sometimes, and just giving your kids a hug, that can make the biggest difference. Like, I'm always giving my boys, like my 13-year-old will very rarely want to hug me, but I sort of like force it in a way where he's just like, he'll go, Mum, are you trying to tackle me? And I'm like, no, just hug me. But what I have to say, you always say I love you, which I'm grateful for.
Thanks,
But
Lisa.
one thing I've noticed is that the first minor change that I made to my lifestyle was in 2014. I stopped drinking tap water and I started drinking alkaline water. So that's, and now, like, compounding, like the habit stacker that I've learned from a book as well, is like I've realized now that habit I started back then, now my kids are doing that. So they don't even drink from the bubblers. They always take their own water bottles. Our alkaline system is getting reboot, and so we've had to buy alkaline water. My kids are like filling up, not from the tap but from the the alkaline box. So I like that. For me, that's a huge step, because I know that they'll be able to look after their own nervous system and their well-being, and then that's something that they can pass on to their children.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I just wanted to add on to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing with COVID with us was that we decided we were actually both essential workers, so we went to work every day when everybody else was at home. But one thing it did create was conversations around, what does our future look like, and what do we want to be surrounded by? And yeah, the decision was it wasn't the big city, so we actually sold everything we had because we wanted to completely detach from things as an exercise. And it was a very positive exercise, because going through and looking at all these things, there was the odd thing we kept, like this painting behind me on the wall that my husband's cousin did, but pretty much everything in this house is stuff that we've reacquired once we decided where we were going to put our roots down, because we spent a bit of time traveling around and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a really positive exercise, and you can do it in the form of things, or you can do it in the forms of people, like Joe was talking earlier. I've done that myself, where I've cleansed the friends that I've had around me and decided that moving forward, that wasn't the kind of people I wanted in my life. And again, one thing this whole COVID experience has brought is heaps of new friendships and heaps of really cool groups that we've joined and that sort of stuff, and and found a really cool tribe of people. And people always say it's so hard to make friends in your 30s and 40s, and it's been funny, I found it the complete opposite, or I've never had so many new friends. So it's been a really positive experience, all of that.
Yeah.
You've got to take positive from what's been a very strange time.
And that's, you pivoted, right? You took what you had and you ran with it in a completely different way, and it works for you. Yeah. And if you don't, put on your brave sometimes and you feel the fear and you do it anyway, how are you going to move forward? How are you going to know if it's going to change your life, or if it's going to bring positive or negative change? There's no thing like failure. I don't believe in it. I believe in only moments of growth, and you can choose what you do with that. And so, yeah, definitely the nervous system is a big thing for people right now. If you can regulate your nervous system in whichever way you do, if you want to move, if you want to release friendships or people that you thought were friends and that no longer resonate with you. I call it FOOF, fall out of frequency, right? You're falling out of frequency with things, and whatever you're foofing with, then let it go, right? So it's
you.
So it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter where, whatever it is that you want to do, what resonates with you, and how you allow yourself to move into a space of surviving into thriving. Yeah. Whether it's through laughing your ass off at something that someone said, because laughter is medicine, whether it's having a hug, whether it's, connecting with friends over a glass of wine, or whatever it is that makes you happy, recalibrate your nervous system through all of that. Do more of what you love, be more creative, plant your own food. There is something so amazing about having your fingers in the ground, digging in the soil, and cultivating the land, working with your hands. It's all part of recalibrating your nervous system, and we're coming back to the simplicity of all of that and of life, and teaching your children that way as well, the simplicity of life. Joe, it's so important to be able to just tell them it's okay. How can they regulate themselves? Because the schools, yes, there are some schools that, let's do a little meditation in the morning. Okay, let's breathe. But it's not taught in all schools or in many of the school systems. I And I know it's changing. I know it's changing, but it starts at home, right? We, as the parents, we can make that change already for our kids. And they are the generation, the future of our world. They are here. We're leaving this world behind for them. So if we can give them some guidance and teach them through our own way of showing up, right, then things will change for humanity. So my loves, we come to the end of this talk today. Thank you
That
so
went by
much.
so quick. That was so fun.
Yes, it has gone so
It did. It was
But,
great.
just before we go, is there anything else that you want to leave the people that's listening, that's watching with today? Some golden nuggets of wisdom.
Just be authentically you and live your life.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
More hugs.
always.
More hugs. More
Yeah.
accepting and giving.
Yeah. I guess it's just go with the flow. Even in my chapter in the book I wrote, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Yeah.
And just be open and enjoy this new way of being, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess just don't get caught so much up in the process. I love the saying, no action goes to waste. When the season is right, the trees will bear fruit.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And the
true.
sun will shine tomorrow. Tomorrow is always a new day. Even if the sun's not shining, it's a new day. You get to create something new. You get to experience something new. It's not always the same. You can choose to be in that same pattern on the hamster wheel, or you can choose to, take the bull by the horns and ride that bull until you feel passionate and joyful and maybe crazy or, adventurous or whatever you want to feel. But life is what you make of it, right? And do not let struggle or your struggle define you in a way where it's keeping you locked in fear, where it's keeping you locked in a space of procrastination. You all, every single one of you, beautiful souls that's listening to this, and anyone out there, you have gifts for this world. You have medicine for this world, and your guidance and your wisdom is so needed right now for everyone out there, even if it's for your children, your partner, even if it's a beautiful smile as you're walking down the street and you smile at someone. Compassion and kindness should be at the heart of where we're moving from right now, because otherwise, if we move from struggle, if we move from fear, if we move from separation, where are we going to be 2 years from now, 5 years from now?
You're so right.
So,
Thank you for creating the space, Natalia. It's been an absolute joy to spend an hour with you ladies.
Thank you.
You
thank
too,
you,
Jen.
everybody.
It's been so wonderful.
And I will
Thank you.
pop these beautiful women's website addresses underneath this talk as well. So please do look them up and see what they're up to, what they're doing. And thank you from my heart to yours. I love you.
Thank you, guys. Love you all.
Bye.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye-bye.